Hi everybody, welcome back to E3D Designs. In today's episode we're going to take the original junk X-axis wiring harness and replace it with this nice new ribbon cable and cable chain. Let's get started. Alright, so for this episode you will need some ribbon cable, 22 links of cable chain with one end piece, your corner cover cable chain mount, one metric 3 heat set, one metric 3 by 10 millimeter machine screw, and one thread cutting screw. Now you should have both of these screws left over from when you disassembled the original hot end carriage. You also need the wiring harness that went to your X-axis, which would be your end stop wiring and the stepper motor wiring. We're going to need the ends off of those. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is put our heat set in our cable chain mount and fit it into the carriage. Okay, so I just took a 40 millimeter screw, put it through there to give me a little bit of downward pressure on this. Which you really don't need, but it helps. I use it more for making sure the screw is tracking through straight once I've got it set in there. And it also helps keep the threads clear, so you don't have to go in and clean the threads up once you're done setting it. Alright, so once that's cooled down, we can go ahead and remove the screw. And now we'll go fit this in our carriage. Alright, so we're going to take our corner covered cable chain mount. We're going to mount it in the back rear corner right here. Once you set it in place, push it hard against the outside edge here. Make sure it doesn't rock up. If it does, you can take and heat this edge right here with a lighter and just bend it out slightly so it's a nice snug fit. This one seems to be pretty good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take it back out. We're going to connect it to the end of the cable chain, and we're going to prep our cable chain to mount in here. Now we need to prep the cable chain for being installed into the chassis and mounted to our corner cover. To do that, we're going to pop these last two links off and flip them 180 from the way they are now. This will allow us to mount this to the carriage in the printer. And now we'll go ahead and mount our end piece on. Now this is ready to go into the printer. Alright, for this next part you're going to need your drill with a 3/32 drill bit installed. Go ahead and put your cable chain in place. Now this is going to line up perfectly on the carriage right here. Right outside of the stepper motor. You're just going to butt it right up against the bottom of the rail here. You're going to take your drill and make sure you drill the hole in the bottom of the two holes. If you drill in the top, you could bind against your belt and the pulley. Go nice and easy. This is kind of brittle plastic. Now take that thread cutting screw that we got earlier, put it right there in that hole, and nice and slow turn it back and forth until you cut the new threads into that hole. Go slow so you don't crack the plastic here. And now that is ready to mount this in place. Next thing we need to do is feed some ribbon cable through all this and figure out our length to go to the back. Alright, so get your ribbon cable. As you remember before, we're going to fold over the ribbon cable end so it'll flow nice and neat down the cable chain. Feed it in through the back of the printer and just push it down our cable chain, making sure we keep it flat so it goes the whole way. Once we've got it all the way through, line it up where it's going to meet here, pull yourself out enough to do all this here. We're going to cut some of this off and splice it to other connectors, but that should be more than enough. Better too much than not enough. Then spin your table right around. Oh wait, you might not have that. Well, if you do, good job. And then we're going to splice on some connectors that are going to plug in here so we can cut this off. As you just pull the cable right to the board and cut it there. Now we'll go ahead and take out the cable chain and our wire, take it back over to the soldering station and put our connectors on. Alright, so first thing you may have noticed, our ribbon cable is 10 wire and our two harnesses have a total of 7 wire. And XYZ was so nice to not color code the optical sensor for your X end stop. So we're going to kind of remedy that just a little bit. So let's peel off 3 wires for our end stop. I'm going to go with the black, white, and the gray. And now our other stepper motor harness uses orange, blue, red, and yellow. So we'll peel off the brown for a little ways and just cut it off. Grab the red, orange, and yellow. We don't need the green or the purple, so we'll peel them away and cut them off as well. Now we can finish separating the rest of these. Same to the other end. Now, all we need is the last couple inches off of our old stepper motor harness. Cut like 3 inches off the end. And the rest of this is trash. And now, as you guys may remember from the first videos, my original optical sensor end stop harness was cut up and had telephone wire ran into it, and well, needless to say, I had to go dig through my bag of spare parts and find another one because I didn't trust the connectors on that one. Now, as I said, they didn't color code this, so it's pretty straightforward. It's a straight through connector, each wire. So if you turn both the connectors with the tab up, hold it away from you, the wire on the outside goes straight to the wire on the outside, the wire in the middle goes to the wire in the middle, wire toward you goes to the wire toward you. Just make sure you've got both connectors turned the same way, and it doesn't really matter how you do it. If you've got to where you can see the metal pins up, then make sure both connectors are metal pins up and run the wire straight across. Now we're going to do the same thing and cut about 3 inches off the end of each of these for the connectors. And throw the rest of the wire away. The important thing now is to make sure we get the right connectors at the right end. So, happen to have one of my steppers here. We know the big fat connector, that plugs into the stepper. So, that's going to go to this end. And the optical sensor takes a special plug. Or a different plug at least anyway. That one doesn't plug into it, so it must not be that one. That one does. So that goes to this connector, which means these two go on the other end, back at the circuit board. We'll set them aside. Now we need to strip all of our wires down and solder everything up. Just take care when doing the end stop harness, like I said, that you go straight through. So if you do the outside one will go black on the outside connectors, white for the middle, and gray for the other side. We'll do the same on both ends, and then we'll be ready to install this back in the harness. Alright, so I've soldered and applied heat shrink to all of our connections. For the stepper motor, it's pretty straightforward. Just match the colors up, orange to orange, etc. For the optical end stop, as you can see, I kept the connectors with the tabs up, and I made the away from me. I went black, white, and gray on this end, and did the same thing, black, white, gray. So now it is a straight through cable. Now let's put this in the chassis. Alright, so let's start by feeding our cables through the back of the chassis here. And then snap our corner mount in place. Use that metric 3 machine screw. Snug that up. That takes care of that end. Now we'll go ahead and take out this thread cutting screw we put in earlier. Put our cable chain up in place. Well, hold it up nice and tight against that lip there. Don't tighten this too much, you don't want to crack the plastic. Make it nice and snug. Now our cable chain's in place. And it's not really, this isn't really hooked up good, but we'll show you here. Goes back and forth, nice and neat. You only get a little bit of bending here as opposed to the hard turning it did when it was up here that seemed to always wear shorts out in our wires. And that's where you get your layer shifting in the middle of a print. Now we just need to hook up all of our wires. These ones for the stepper. Getting a little tighter here. You see this little square hole right here? You're going to feed your optical sensor wires. through there. Reconnect your optical sensor. And snap it back in place. Then take your stepper connector, feed it through the little loop here on the side, and plug it in. Grab a zip tie. Feed it through that loop. And try and secure all your wires up at this end. It's just as getting it started. And then get all your wires positioned nice and neat. And I messed up. Try this again. Making sure to get all of our wires through the zip tie. There we go. That should be it. Yep. Slip it up a little bit. Takes care of that end. Spin it around. Back our wiring back just a little bit. And now we just need to plug in this end. And that's these two connectors right here. Yeah. These two connectors right here. There we go. X-axis, stepper motor, and end stop wired up with new wiring harness in the cable chain. Alright, so that wraps up this episode for installing the new X-axis wiring harness. In our next episode, we're going to install our new Bondtech BMG extruders. Remember, if you like the channel, subscribe to it, ring the bell for notifications. If you want to help out with future projects and support the channel, there's a PayPal me link and a wish list at the bottom in the description. And remember, if it ain't broke, upgrade it. We'll see you next time.